Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's the best day of the week, Friday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome all listeners to Friday, where I'm so excited. I could almost pretend to be a morning person for a few hours.
I'm a morning person. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, let's jump right into the stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew. What did you make for me this morning?
Today, I made you what I call orange spice. It's essentially a black tea with some orange peel, cinnamon, and a little bit of clove.
It smells like Christmas. It tastes like Christmas.
So what would you rate it?
I give that a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
It's good.
Is it too spicy? Should I have brought it back on
Maybe
the
that's
clove,
what I'm tasting. Maybe it's just a little too spicy, but it's still good.
Well, maybe I can hit us up with some spicy stories today.
I'm ready.
Well, for any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for allowing my brother to be homeless? My older brother, Dave, 42, hasn't worked since 2020, when he was first laid off. His reasoning is he's not taking a job at a lower pay because it will hurt in his salary negotiation process. So he's not taking another job until he finds one that pays like his old job did. His wife left him because of this. In the divorce, Dave got the house. He's going through the foreclosing process now. He's run out of savings. He's looking for a place to stay, and I have an extra bedroom, but Dave is not coming here to freeload. He has to have a job. I'd settle for any job, even a part-time job, but Dave is still stubbornly insisting he's not working for less than he's worth. I finally got upset and said, fine, be homeless. Dave was extremely pissed off that I wouldn't even consider taking him in until he finds this job. My family members are on me about how I could allow Dave to be homeless, but I don't see anyone else offering their spare rooms and couches to Dave. Am I the a-hole?
We're going to open this Friday up on a spicy meatball, but baby one, because I think anyone who listens to this story rationally can understand that he's in the right. There's no way that you're the a-hole, OP. Your brother, he sounds entitled by a huge amount. So there is one thing worse than being paid less than what you think you're worth. Employment gaps. Hey, that is a red flag to any employer. You said it yourself. Your brother is in his 40s. He's not been working since 2020. It's 2023. That's a big gap. Make an excuse up all you want about how you're not working for more than you're worth, but you work your way back up. You don't sit there on your hands. So yeah, your brother has a really skewed way of looking at things. It ended up being the cause of his divorce. How did you not stop at any point in that time and reshuffle the deck as to how you're thinking? So your brother has some suspect viewpoints, and I totally agree with you. I wouldn't let him in my house because it sounds like he's just going to keep doing what he's been. He rode that excuse all the way to the detriment and end of his marriage. What would you think he'd do for you in your home? If that didn't stop him, you being in your house telling him he can have a room as long as he has a job, that's not going to change his life. He gave up his marriage for that.
That's very true.
No, I would not entertain that even a little bit. I would understand if there was other circumstances that played a foot in this, but it doesn't sound like that. It just sounds like your brother's crazy lazy. You've wasted all of your life savings, is what he said. Burning it down. His house now, you may have won it, but you didn't really. It kind of sounds like the wife was more than happy to just give you what you wanted so she could clean her hands of whatever. Maybe we're talking depression that he's fallen into after losing the job. Because some people do get that way. When they're used to life being a certain way, especially when it comes to the job that they're in, and they lose that job, they can spiral. So thinking beyond that's really hard for some people. And maybe that's what he's kind of fallen into.
Possibly.
I don't know if your brother needs to go get himself into some type of counseling. And maybe that might be something you should suggest to him, because maybe we're dealing with depression on a different level. And maybe that's what he's just refusing to do anything now. It has nothing to do with getting paid more. It's he's stuck in depression. It still doesn't give you the excuse to sit on your hands and let life pass you by just because you lost a job. But if there is a last-stitched effort to try to help his brother, maybe that might be something he looks at. I wouldn't entertain it unless he was willing to definitely go get some help first. But you're definitely not the a-hole. It just sounds like a really tough situation that your brother made for himself.
Well, the consensus is the OP is not the a-hole. In fact, let me go ahead and read to you one comment that I enjoyed their perspective in their experiences. They went, not the a-hole. I used to work at our county welfare department. I remember a man who was holding out for a high-paying job. I suggested he apply to UPS. He said no, he was too good to work at UPS. I remember thinking to myself, you're too proud to work at UPS, but you're not proud to apply for welfare. Your brother appears to have a similar attitude. He's too proud to take just any job, but he's not too proud to mooch off of you. Don't let him. With this attitude, he may never find a job and may never move out if you let him move in. I think somebody who would allow the bridges to burn around him is definitely somewhere along the way pretty toxic or has turned that way. In my mind, if he won that home, he should have just turned around and sold it, and then he could have used that money to help.
Yeah, we don't know how far the rabbit hole went on that. That's
true.
why I say there's a lot to his story.
Well, let's go ahead and skedaddle from this situation and head into our next one. Am I the a-hole for offending my sister's friends by suggesting they shouldn't get changed in the same room as us? My 39 female sister, 32 female, had a birthday get-together recently and brought together a group of girls for a day at the beach. I'd say I knew about half of the girls there beforehand. We all had a great time and all the girls seemed pretty nice. However, after the swim, we went into a public changing room next to the beach for changing into dry clothing. The only issue was that 2 of the girls were trying to enter with everyone else. Let's call them M and N. They are both gay and openly in a relationship, which I don't have an issue with, but it definitely is a little uncomfortable undressing in front of them. I know they wouldn't have tried anything, but I have a lot of guy friends I knew wouldn't try anything either that I still wouldn't want to get undressed in front of. With this in mind, I asked them to wait outside the changing room before everyone else got changed. M and N got offended and started calling me all sorts of things. Stuff about how ignorant I am, with most of the girls taking their sides. Eventually, it all calmed down, but later on, my sister told me how annoyed she was at me insulting her friends. Am I the a-hole?
Boy, you're just killing it with the stories.
I'm on a roll for Friday.
So, let's grab all the facts. OP's 39. She's hanging out with her sister who is 32, I think.
Correct.
They're with a group of friends, and she said she knows about half of them. They're at the beach. They're in a changing room right now. She knows that 2 of the ladies with them are lesbian. She's completely making all her assumptions based off of this fact.
But she knows they're openly in a relationship.
Yes. So, based off of that knowledge only, she thinks that these women, because I'm pretty sure this is how she looked at it in her head, potentially could be predatory. That's disgusting. Just because you happen to love who you love. That sucks. So, they're all coming into this changing room. And at the door, she tells them, please wait till we're all done changing because of the facts I stated already. Could you imagine how insulting and degrading that would be to have someone tell you just because you happen to love someone that you can't be in a changing room because you might look at them? How?
No, I can't imagine. I would be royally pissed off.
How pig-headed are you that was your first thought that, oh no, now they're looking at me. I promise you, they're probably not looking at you. That's not how life works. You're getting another through the villain's eyes perspective.
Welcome.
Yeah, you're definitely the giant a-hole in this situation. I think you assuming things about people is gross.
Well, the consensus is definitely the a-hole. In fact, there was one person that said it was unfair that people were, I guess you could say, drilling into the poster without truly explaining it. So they actually did a very nice job of explaining why. Why would she be uncomfortable? And why her feelings in feeling this makes her the a-hole here. So they say a lot of it involves social norms. Our social norms is that everything be segregated men and women. Because as a woman, I can understand how it feels through a woman's perspective. I wouldn't stare and ogle at another woman. The same way as a man, You're in a men's changing room. You don't expect another man to stare and ogle at you and make you feel uncomfortable.
Sure, that is a social norm.
So the social norms is you tend to go by the sexes on how it's supposed to be because of simply just being comfortable. You know that there's no weird or perverse way of misconstruing how somebody just is looking at you. They're just looking at you as just a person, and there's nothing more to it than that.
Okay.
Now, this one commenter said that they can understand how it would feel uncomfortable for her because you no longer have that, I guess you could say, you've now become aware that this person that's coming into the changing room with you looks at the person that is of the same sex differently or through a different light, almost of a similar light to the opposite sex.
Okay.
Now, the only difference is rather than saying, well, this situation makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to go ahead and let you go in and change first, and then I will change afterwards because it is my feelings that I'm uncomfortable with. Instead, what our poster does is she says, you're second best. You should wait until after we're done.
Gotcha.
That's what makes the whole situation so far worse. You can be uncomfortable. That is your prerogative. Men can be uncomfortable in front of other men. If there was a situation where there was stalls for privacy, I bet you a lot of women would opt for that privacy. I would, just because I come from a more modest household. Does that make it wrong? No, I wouldn't also make other people feel bad for it. And that's the difference here. The poster made somebody feel bad for something that's normally accepted. She made it perverse by saying, hey, because you have this certain viewpoint, you're going to do this really bad thing. You are now second-rate citizen here. You wait outside.
Okay, I can definitely see it from that.
So I think this commenter actually put it down very nicely, where this person came on here and yes, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
I bet.
But they broke it down in such a way that, as you could tell, I was able to explain it quite well. And I was like, now I know why I felt the way that I felt. Because as a person, if I was uncomfortable with somebody,
you could have taken your individual self out of that situation, waited and been calm. Instead, at the door, you said, you can't come in here till we're all done.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really bad. That's a good way to frame that. Hopefully ROP got some perspective and was able to kind of really digest how she's looking and treating people around her. Because at 39...
they got perspective all right, enough to delete the post and their account.
Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and leave that situation and hop into this next car. I mean, what? Am I the a-hole for kicking my friend out of the car after we almost crashed? Some context. We live in a college campus in a suburban area of a notoriously rural state, and I grew up driving in a large city several states away. I consider myself a very good driver, and ever since I've had my own car recently, whenever I drive with other people, I always refuse to drive until they've all buckled their seatbelts. Overkill? Maybe. But I had a friend who got into a really bad accident, and I don't want to take any chances. So today, my friend group made plans to go to an event across town, and we decided that I and one other friend would drive everyone. We split up so that 3 people went into each car. We were only about a mile down the road when my friend, who was sitting next to me, suddenly lunged forwards, pointed out the window, and yelled, "Pedestrian!" Of course, I reacted on instinct and immediately slammed the brakes. We skidded to a stop, and I frantically looked around for a pedestrian. I swear my heart was in my throat. I've almost never felt such immediate and severe panic. But then my friend started laughing so hard he could barely speak. And when I asked where the pedestrian was, he kept laughing. I got really mad and started driving again because we were blocking traffic. But I yelled at my friend that it wasn't funny, and why the hell he would think that was a smart thing to do. He just said that I should have seen the look on my face. So I immediately pulled over to the side of the road and told him to get out. He didn't want to at first, but I insisted and wouldn't keep driving. So he said, "Jesus, I'm sorry," in a sarcastic tone and got out. Then I drove away, still massively pissed. We got to the event just fine after that. And the other friend who'd been in the car with me told the other 3 what had happened. They were sympathetic, but also implied that I might have overreacted by kicking him out of the car, especially since he never showed up to the event. The only friend who has outright told me I was right to kick my friend out of the car was the one who was in the car with us. I do really feel guilty and like an a-hole for kicking my friend out of the car, but I don't really think I was overreacting. The car directly behind us had to brake quickly to avoid hitting us, and I think we could have gotten in a really serious accident over this. What if I'd swerved and hit oncoming traffic or a light pole? What if we'd been rear-ended? Also, it wasn't like I was abandoning him in the side of the road. He had his phone, and it was easily only a 10-minute walk to where I'd picked everyone up. The other car had stopped for gas and was a few minutes behind us on the road. He could have called them and hitched a ride if he'd really wanted to. Do I need to apologize? I want him to realize that what he did was super dangerous and not cool at all. I swear I'm still feeling aftershocks of panic. Am I the a-hole?
I mean, I think most people would be feeling aftershocks from panic if someone did that to them as a passenger in their car while they're driving. No, you're not the a-hole. Your friend is a clown. That is how you get people in severe accidents. I think most people would have pulled over and kicked him out of the car, especially if he's doing this right in the middle of... I thought this was on the highway, but it sounds like this is a service street.
Yes, I would say that it's probably one of those roads where it might turn into a freeway, but it's sort of just like one really big street.
Yeah. He says it's not in the middle of a highway, in the middle of nowhere. He says it's 10 minutes away from wherever they just were. It wasn't in the middle of nowhere in a desert, is basically what I'm trying to say. That's not where his friend got dropped off. I'm so shocked, right? So if we're going to step through this, they're driving, they're about to go have fun. They made the plans. They're the two drivers. You know, there's two cars, there's 6 people. They're driving down the road, and then his passenger lurches forward. That action in and of itself would probably skeeve out a lot of drivers, especially because our OP sounds younger. They don't sound super experienced behind the wheel. They probably haven't been driving for 10, 20 years.
I would say early 20s.
It's kind of what it sounds like. But they're taking the appropriate precautions. Yeah, maybe a little bit overkill, but I would rather you as a driver be more aware than less.
I would have to agree with
Make
that.
sure your friends are buckled up. I've had this conversation with many people in my lifetime. Put your seatbelt on. Anyway, it sounds like as they're driving, he lurches forward, points out the window, and yells pedestrian. Could you imagine someone doing that to you? And
I
then
would be angry.
His response to him when he's like, where? He's just straight laughing. Like it's actually a funny thing that he just did. What? No. And that's not a friend. I'm sorry that you had to learn a lesson like that, though. Your other friends telling you that you overreacted, they're not friends either.
The one good friend was one in the car that's saying you did not.
Yep. That is heinously bad because he's right. Anything could have happened. That car behind him, you don't know what you could have done. And I bet that friend that did that would probably still be laughing even if there was an accident that had occurred or backpedaling out of it like he didn't do anything. That type of person is terrible. Now you know who's not a friend. And not to let in your car. The worst part is he has to come out here and ask that he's not being wrong. I get it if he's like in the middle of nowhere and we're seriously on an isolated like stretch of highway. You took hours to get to where you're even at. That's a little different. Fine. In that moment, I'd probably go, you know what? I'm going to get you safely to the destination we were going to go, but you're going to have to figure out your way home because I'm not doing this. That would have been my thing, but he kind of already lays it out. It's an appropriate thing what he did. It's not in the middle of nowhere. You're an adult. You have a phone. I'm not risking my life or other people's lives because it seriously just takes 1 second and you've affected other people's lives forever. And even our 16-year-old wouldn't act like that in a car and would know better.
Oh, yes.
Like, even if they were young adults, you still couldn't give them a pass. Like, this is, no. Yeah, you're not the a-hole.
Well, the consensus is also not the a-hole. In fact, a lot of people were saying in the comments, this carefree attitude is probably one of the worst looked upon things when it comes to people who say that they just live freely.
Yeah.
Where they don't have consideration for other people and their actions because they think other people are taking things too seriously. It's not serious when you're talking about the lives and safety of the people around you. There's a time and a place to be truly carefree. You can be carefree and run down a hill. You're not going to be carefree and run down a freeway. I think it's very selfish
It's dangerous.
And a lot of commenters essentially were saying the same deal. That isn't a friend. They're appalled at those actions, that they went ahead and they shared experiences on tragic accidents of people doing these kinds of pranks. And it's awful that people have to experience loss like this.
Nope. Don't be around the people that put everyone else's lives at risk. If that's someone who you're hanging out with, take that as a lesson. Move on.
Well, we got into a serious topic when it comes to safety in cars. So let's go to a workplace and let's see if we can calm this down just a little.
Okay.
This is a different type of prank, though. For our next story, would I be the a-hole if I pranked my coworkers who keep asking my ethnicity? Context. I, 24 female, am ethnically ambiguous. A lot of people make assumptions about my ethnicity, religion, and what language I speak because of this, and it leads to some uncomfortable questioning. I have black, really curly long hair, and dark eyes, and fairly tan skin, and my name is somewhat ambiguous. My family is Middle Eastern, but Christian. As a result, there is often confusion when people try to pinpoint my identity. I work in a very multicultural office in the U.S. in what is predominantly white industry. As such, many of my coworkers have tried to figure out what minority group within the company I fall into, perhaps attempting to see if I am the same as them. Every couple of days, I have a different coworker asking if I am insert ethnicity here. One time, I was asked to plan Cinco de Mayo celebrations by the CEO's assistant because they assumed I was Mexican. Another time, a coworker came up to me and immediately started speaking fast-paced Tagalog and only stopped when I stopped them and told them I was not Filipino and did not understand him. He apologized and moved on. These are only 2 examples of many. I also repeatedly get asked if I am Muslim and why I don't do or follow various rules/cultural practices associated with Islam. I know they don't mean any harm. It is a lot, though. When I've told my friends about this, a couple of them suggested that I start getting miniature flags from a bunch of different countries and start switching out the miniature flag I put on display in my cubicle every couple days. I only worry that this would be rude or seen as insensitive. So, would I be the a-hole for purposely confusing my coworkers with a prank for continually asking about my ethnicity?
All right. So I guess we'll start with this. OP sounds very bothered about how this has been going on throughout her employment, or probably the better part of her life. She says it every couple days. Her coworkers, someone new pops out and asks what she is and starts taking guesses. Obviously, she's not comfortable enough to share that information, and that's up to her. Because had she been comfortable, she would have already let them know.
But she let us know.
What?
Yes, she let us know her ethnicity.
Let's hear it.
She says she's Palestinian.
Okay. So she let us know, but she's not letting her coworkers know.
The biggest prank of them all.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to my next question. She let us know, the internet, but she's not letting the people that keep continually bothering her about it know. So does it bother her, or does she get like a funny you guys can just keep guessing, I guess?
Or do they forget and ask again? We also don't know if there's a lot of turnover.
I don't know, because you're right. We don't know enough about that situation to make a real assumption on it, I guess. I think in my mind, putting the flags, changing them out every couple of days is hilarious. Again, I wonder if she's more upset about it or if it's just some thing she's taken amusement to. Because if she's just taken amusement to it, I don't see why she can't play with them. Put a new different flag on there. That might have some people feel a certain way, I guess. Because you could see it as being mean-spirited, especially if people are just interested in what your background is. And that just might be their way of trying to reach out an olive branch and get to know you. I don't believe that you would be the a-hole in this situation.
Well, the consensus is not the a-hole. In fact, let me start with this first comment that says, not the a-hole, start with Sweden. And a Swede says, I approve. And then somebody else says, then get a little Maui statue with a little Chilean flag. Someone said, I'm Belgium, you may have my flag too. And it just continued on down.
Good.
I think as long as you're keeping it lighthearted, I think it's a fun little prank.
And that's why
I think it'd be a good way to start a conversation, right? If somebody sees your flag and they say, oh, are you such and such a country? And you say, no, but don't I look somewhat like it?
Yeah.
And then you can start a nice conversation and learn a little bit more from
Sure.
that culture. I think that would be nice.
That's a good way to get into it.
When it comes to visually assuming, I know that there was a colleague, and I think I've said this before, that I had assumed was Hispanic. And therefore, I started talking to her in Spanish, and she made me believe for 2 years that she could understand me. I didn't realize she didn't speak Spanish at all. She wasn't Spanish at all. She was Filipino.
She was just being nice to you.
She was being super nice. And it wasn't till she turned around and I asked her, I said, is my Spanish really that bad? You don't really answer me very much. And she goes, that's because those are the only words I know. I'm Filipino. And I was like, wait, what? But it did open the door for me to understand a lot about her.
Well, that's just a fun story. As long as everyone takes it lightheartedly, that's fun.
Well, while I was really trying to delve into the comments section and into our poster, it made me realize she had another post. And this other post, it was just as funny as this one. So I decided to add it to today's stories.
Oh.
So for our last story of the day, would I be the a-hole if I bought potty training aim stickers for my male roommate who keeps pissing on the floor?
Okay. Friday, baby.
I, female 23, have 4 male roommates, 22 male, 22 male, 24 male, and 24 male. They're all really fun and nice guys, and we get along well personality-wise. I share a bathroom with 2 of them, who we'll call Ethan, 24 male, and Brandon, 22 male. Brandon, for the most part, is pretty chill, super respectful of the shared bathroom space, puts the seats down, cleans when it's his turn, not exactly to my standard, but I knew I grew up in a house where my mom was super anal about cleaning and he tries, and that's really all I care about. He never leaves an egregious mess and always cleans the drain. Ethan, however, never cleans the bathroom, always leaves various types of hair everywhere, often forgets to flush, leaves trash on the floor, and has the worst aim imaginable. It's like he tries to piss facing away from the toilet with a blindfold on. Every time Brandon and I scrub the bathroom, the next day, sometimes even sooner, there's piss on the rim, seat, on the outside of the bowl, floor, and wall, all over basically. It's like someone exploded a piss monster inside the bathroom and he never wipes it up. I'll ask him and he'll be like, for sure, I'll do that, my bad, and then doesn't. One time, I found literal shit on the floor. Both Ethan and I have brought it up in our roommate meetings and talked to him independently about it, and it'll change for a day or two, only to return to the same pissy status. The beginning, I just dealt with it, but it's been 6 months now and I'm fed up. So I found one of those aim here stickers for potty training kids that I planned on buying and putting in the toilet with no further comment. When I mentioned this to Brandon, he said it might be a bit rude and would cause more problems than solving them. Male friends I mentioned this to told me that it was rude and that I can't expect a man to sit down to piss, which I never said, but they extrapolated. I'm just over having a piss-covered bathroom. Would I be the a-hole for putting potty training devices and stickers in the bathroom?
All right. Well, this one is oh my Lanta, because you sound like you have a gross roommate. She says that she lives with 4 other guys. She shares a bathroom with 2 of them.
Correct.
She said this situation has been going on for 6 months before she's posted this. I love her description. It's like he's pissing blindfolded, aiming away from the toilet. That's a good one. She even says that they find poo not in the toilet.
So, I'm wondering if this is that weird instance, and I've seen it in public restrooms. It's really gross, but it's where they don't wipe correctly, and then you see that streak on the back of the toilet. Ugh.
Ew. No. Stop.
It's the only thing that I could come up with, because I'm like, you can't have shit outside the toilet.
I mean, that's what she's saying is happening.
Maybe he when he was wiping, he flicked up some
Please stop. Oh, God. It's bad. Whatever situation you want to paint, that's bad. I would not accept that. I think it's hilarious putting the aim here sticker, because the alternative would be you have him clean that bathroom every day, or you kick him out, because that's unsanitary and you could get sick. I wasn't even assuming that she was telling a male to sit down and pee. So no, you're not the a-hole. I look forward to hearing you said that we might have there's an update. The way your face looks anyway. She's definitely not the a-hole. Put all the stickers you want. Put all the potty train things till it gets to his head that he lives with other people. It's not just him.
Well, it's a resounding not the a-hole. In fact, I like some of the jokes where they said this is weaponized incompetence. And let me go ahead and, as you say, because I couldn't hold back the smile, let you in on this update that our poster presented us with.
I look forward to this.
For the first update. It seems like this behavior has stopped since I posted this. I know he's kind of chronically online, so I feel like something tells me he might have seen this and has been shamed in an inadvertent way. Thank you for the advice. I have 2 younger brothers, but never really had this issue with them and lived in an all-female house through college, so this is my first time really living with men, single mom life. Men seem like an enigma sometimes, but at least I'm not going crazy here. Thank you. Update 2 in the comments. Hi all.
Hi.
Late update, but I had surgery and then the holidays and started a new job, but I figured I'd let you know what happened. So a couple days after I posted this, Ethan stopped talking to me and his girlfriend started acting like I was the scum of the earth and actively ignoring me whenever she came over. So I think they might have seen this post. When I came back after the holidays from visiting family, the bathroom was completely trashed and Ethan was the only one who had been in the house over the holidays. So I told him I was cleaning for the New Year's and that would be the last time I'd be cleaning the bathroom because he was nasty and inconsiderate. I am now using the upstairs bathroom with one of my other roommates, and Ethan's trash and mess have been piling up. Not my problem. Once our 4th roommate returns from traveling, we are going to have an intervention and tell him if he doesn't start pulling his weight, not just in the bathroom but all over the house, then we're gonna either kick him out or charge him for a cleaning service to clean up his messes. I know it's not exactly in line with everyone's comments, but they were all hilarious and very helpful, and I'll keep them in mind.
Yeah, those are good solutions. Pay for a cleaning service. It kind of sounds like it's not just a bathroom problem, though. Sounds like a bad roommate in general. Being around those type of people drains you.
Oh, yes. I hands down agree. There was some commenters that said you should put a lock on your bathroom door because they wouldn't stand for that shit. And the pun is intended. Another one gave a suggestion and said to put safety signs everywhere, putting warnings to people. So on one of the comments, it was actually really funny since this was a post from back in December. They said, essentially, it's been the 12 days since Ethan's pissed everywhere.
Put a poster up. 12 days since our last accident.
Accident number.
This Ethan character is very lucky that he has roommates around him and friends that are trying to tolerate him. It sounds like our OP has had 2 interesting stories she shared with the internet.
Yes, she did.
Good for her. It sounds like she got good feedback on both of them. Was that our last story?
That's our last story.
All right. That's a great way to end on Friday.
With the piss monster.
With the piss monster. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Don't forget to go ahead and leave your opinion, especially on this last story, in the comment section below. And what are your plans for the weekend?
We're going to the movies with the boy this weekend.
I can't wait.
I think we're going to go see Transformers.
Is it Transformers? Hold on. Or Spider-Man?
I think maybe it's Spider-Man. Yeah, it's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.